I'm Ann Charles.
I'm Linda Quinlan, and welcome to All Things LGBTQ. It is Tuesday, August 6th, and we're recording at Orca Media, which we acknowledge is unceded Indigenous land. And now we're going to go to Ann, who's going to take us to some beautiful foreign lands.
Well, I'd like to start with our traditional Gaza statement. Things are getting worse there. People are starving to death. And I heard last weekend, Linda and I went to a poetry reading by the poet Carolyn Forche, a wonderful poetry of she writes poetry of witness. And she told an anecdote that I think is particularly chilling involving drones in Gaza, which is that when the lethal drones fly over Gaza, the children of Gaza think they're a toy and run after them. And so this doctor she was corresponding with said he sees all kinds of head injuries and often lethal fatalities because of this. This is what the United States is complicit in, this genocide. It continues unabated, and it's absolutely unacceptable and unconscionable.
Thank you, Ann.
Okay, now I'd like to go to I started with some positive stories, and this is one. I'll start with Asia and tell you that more than half of Chinese citizens support LGBTQ plus rights. A poll was recently conducted in which it was revealed that more than half the citizens of China believe LGBTQ people should be treated with dignity, which flies in the face of some of their restrictive laws, of course. Responding to a survey in China, 53% said that queer people should be accepted in society. A similar number felt that same-sex couples should be able to marry, while 46% said they would personally attend a same-sex marriage. 48% believes gay couples make capable parents. Now, the study also showed what we all know. Respondents who knew an LGBTQ person were more likely to show support for the community. 62% of those surveyed said that LGBTQ people should be treated fairly at work, and 68% felt the government should improve protections for queer students. According to the study, at least 70% of Chinese people know at least one person who's an out LGBTQ person, while 47% know at least two. Now, we know that homosexuality in China has been legal since 1997, after the country updated its penal code. However, same-sex marriage is still illegal, and there are virtually no protections for LGBTQ people. Same-sex couples have been able to apply for a guardianship appointment since 2017, which affords them certain rights to share assets and inheritance, but they are not allowed to adopt. Trans citizens, and this is pretty draconian, are only permitted to change their gender after undergoing gender reassignment surgery. Gender-affirming care is only permitted for people over the age of 18, and they must be diagnosed with gender dysphoria, have applied for gender reassignment surgery for at least 5 years, have no criminal record, and be unmarried. Well, this means that China is nowhere near the most repressive country for queer people. It is worth noting that last month at least 30 people were arrested for writing LGBTQ plus erotica. So the population is with us. It's just the government that's holding everything
Well, then maybe
back.
it's just a matter of time before the government catches on.
I certainly hope so. Now, I'm counting Russia as Asia because I don't have too many Asia stories. So this is a colorful, unpleasant segment. Russia fines a woman over satirical photos of men in wedding dresses as part of their anti-LGBTQ crackdown. A Russian court has fined Irina Kokolatina over photos uploaded online of men in wedding dresses in order to satirize gender roles. And here they are, here's a little picture. And the Russian script is like smart remarks about gender. The court in the currently annexed region of Crimea opted to fine the woman 100,000 rubles, which is $1,280, after she posted the snaps to her social media account. It comes as Russia continues the crackdown on LGBTQ propaganda since a bill was introduced back in 2013. So that's an interesting segment, maybe. More good news from North America. The court strikes down the nation of St. Lucia's homosexuality ban. It's the latest Caribbean nation to legalize homosexuality. Big long article about it. Human rights in the Eastern Caribbean countries continue to advance the colonial legacies of these unconstitutional provisions, but they continue to fail, wrote the Antigua and Barbuda Foreign Affairs Minister. However, more still needs to be done across the region to ensure that the progress is real, practical, and effective for LGBTQ individuals. So St. Lucia has a population of under 200,000 people, most of whom are Christian. So there's progress there.
Yeah.
Now, this is a bad story from Tunisia. Authorities last month arrested 14 LGBTQ people who allegedly violated Article 230 of the country's penal code that criminalizes consensual same-sex relations with up to 3 years in prison for both men and women. Damj, the local LGBTQ organization, says the arrests took place in Tunis, the Tunisian capital, and Djerba, an island off of Tunisia's southeastern coast that is popular with tourists, and these arrests occurred over the span of 2 weeks. Police arrests of members of the LGBTQ community have escalated, this group says. These arrests have been concentrated in Tunis's city center in Djerba. Typically, individuals are arrested, their belongings and phones are searched, and they are then referred to the judiciary under Article 230 and the Articles on Assault against Public Morals. 9 people were arrested in Tunis and Djerba. 6 people were already sentenced and are serving up to 2 years in prison. A local gender studies researcher who asked to remain anonymous says that authorities pick up people almost arbitrarily. The recent arrests have occurred in a tourist-heavy region. These are areas known for LGBTQ plus visibility, which explains why there are a lot of arrests there.
Yeah.
However, our analysis shows that these arrests are generally random and not part of any consistent, deliberate pattern. He said that Tunisia is not a safe country for LGBTQ people because the government tends to favor repression and condemnation of non-heterosexual sexual identities. The local organizations last year urged Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, to protect LGBTQ people from acts of cyberbullying and catfishing from law enforcement officials and others. As we know, Tunisia is a North African country that borders on Libya, Algeria, and the Mediterranean Sea. It declared its independence from France in 1956. So it's problems in Tunisia. That's my last African story. Should I move on to Europe now, Linda?
Well, we can move and come back to you. We think we have a lot more time. Keith is out today. He is on vacation. So Ann and I are covering all the bases. I'm just going to give you a few updates on what's happening in Vermont's social calendar, and I'll do the others later. But Rainbow Umbrella has a women's discussion group, and there's a book discussion group. What book?
Cinema Love.
Cinema Love.
Yes, and the women's discussion group has taken a break for August, so we'll reconvene September 3rd.
And then Queer Reads at the Pride Center, and the book they're reading is A Space Between Worlds, Micaiah Johnson. And then there's the Pride Ball, which is coming up on September 5th. So that's a little bit of a while from now. And that's going to be in South Burlington, and we will give you more information as it gets closer to the time. And then there's the pop-up happy hours, which happen throughout in the 802. And if you want information about that, you can go on to their 802 Facebook page, and it'll have all the information and where they'll be and what they're doing. Karaoke with Goddess, Saturday, August 16th, 8 to 10, Standing Stone Wines, Winooski. Join Goddess for karaoke, free event, and it's every Saturday.
Where again?
In Winooski. So, and Rutland County Pride Center presents at the Elks Lodge the unforgettable night of celebrating magic of drag power and performance. So I'm sure Keith will have more updates on that as it gets closer to the events.
Great.
Then we have one of my favorites is Marjorie Taylor Greene. On Monday, formally urged Donald Trump to commute the prison sentence for former Republican Congressman George Santos, which of course we know was a gay representative, calling the 87th month term a grave injustice and an example of an unequal treatment under the law. Many in this chamber have done much worse, she said. She doesn't specify who or what those people are.
She's really a wild card, isn't she?
I know, because recently she said, I don't think Republicans treat Republican women very well, so I don't know what's going on there.
No.
But Indiana Republicans, Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith, she had a post on social media from a church that called for the death of gay people. It's now been taken down, and his communications team is taking responsibility. Still, Beckwith has a history of very anti-LGBT comments. The unnamed preacher said, "Why do I hate sodomites? Why do I hate faggots? I guess it's just because they attack children. They're coming after your children. They are attacking them in schools today, and not only schools, in public places, and they are proud about it," Stephen Fackel said during a men's preaching night service. So,
unbelievable.
I know. And a federal judge has dismissed a former Republican of California U.S. Representative Devin Nunes' defamation lawsuit against MSNBC host Rachel Maddow. And NBC Universal ruling the network did not act with actual malice in reporting that Nunes refused to turn over a package from a sanctioned Russian agent to the Federal Bureau of Investigations.
Devin Nunes is a clown.
He's what?
What a joke. He's a clown.
I know.
Remember him from days past?
Yes. And he's still there.
Uh-huh.
I know. The Trump administration is planning to bar U.S. military veterans from receiving abortion care through the federal government's health care system, according to a new filing. The proposed policy would eliminate the Biden administration's 22 rule guaranteeing access to abortion through the Department of Veterans Affairs. It would prevent abortions even in case of rape, incest, or when the health of the pregnant patient is at risk, only allowing them if a physician certifies that the life of the mother would be endangered if the feces would be carried to term.
Fetus.
Fetus, yes, feces. Well, you know. Okay, so don't matter. In the military, you know, it's really sad. And Nancy Mace, one of our other lovely people we talk about occasionally, is hiding what kind of campaign she plans to run. On Monday morning, the Republican South Carolina Congresswoman stood on the parade ground of the Citadel, where she became the first woman to graduate from the Military College Corps of Cadets in 1999.
The Citadel.
Yes, and launched a gubernatorial bid steeped in anti-LGBTQ rhetoric, white nationalist dog whistles, and a relentless fixation on imagined threats to women and children. Her announcement marked a sharp, if predictable, escalation of the culture war persona she's cultivated since President Donald Trump's return to political dominance. "I will hold the line," May said repeatedly, casting herself as a warrior against what she called the gender cult. Undocumented immigrants and public colleges that acknowledge the existence of more than two genders. "We're going to ban pronouns in the classroom," she said. "I want kids coming home with A's and B's, not they and them."
That's really laughable. Can I just pause
Yeah.
while we correct ourselves while we're still on the air? Devin Nunes left Congress. He resigned in January 1, 2022, in order to join the Trump Media and Technology Group as chief executive officer. So he's not in Congress, but he's still on the scene.
He's still around.
Yeah,
Thank you, Ann.
my pleasure.
New Hampshire has become the first New England state to ban gender-affirming care for transgender. Republican Governor Kelly, is it Ayotte? Ayotte signed into law Friday. It bars health care providers from prescribing puberty blockers or hormone treatment to people under 18 if the medications are used for gender transition. It allows young people already receiving these treatments to continue past the law's effective date, which is January 2026.
This was over her veto. They overrode her veto, I think.
No, she signed it. She
signed it, but she vetoed it. And then her veto was overridden, apparently.
Yeah.
So, awful.
And a U.S. District Court in Maryland Friday blocked the National Institutes of Health from terminating grants that fund research addressing the health of sexual and gender minorities, including HIV research. The grants total $80 million, but are estimated to represent less than 1% of the total NIH portfolio. Since the new administration came in, NIH, which is under HHS, has canceled or substantially reduced 669 grants, of which at least 323 address the health of sexual and gender minority groups. So, and this is really, for me, like a real bummer, but the Corporation for Public Broadcasting shared the news today that it would be slowly shutting down following the Trump administration's defunding of public media. The corporation was responsible for providing funding to NPR and PBS, which were known to fund LGBTQ+ projects such as Intersex Justice, Mother Wit, Queering the Map, and their offices will close, which is really, really kind of sad. You know, I listen to NPR all the time, and PBS has the greatest shows. Trump offices closes with a post on Truth Social that this was on Trump's site. Atrocious NPR and public broadcasting, where billions of dollars a year were wasted. Republicans have tried doing this for 40 years and failed. But now they got the big win. So,
Fascism at work.
I know. I'll do one more story and then I'll pass it on down to you. And we'll
Go back and forth a little bit?
yeah. President Donald Trump's attempt to revive a long-defunct presidential fitness test veered into political scandal and absurdity Thursday after he launched the Children's Health Initiative alongside a convicted sex offender, boasting that there's nobody like him. That anger was not about the test itself, though it has its critics, but about who Trump chose to stand beside him.
Oh, my God.
Former New York Giants linebacker Lawrence Taylor, 66, stood just feet from Trump during the launch. Taylor is a registered sex offender who, charged with statutory rape in 2011, pleaded guilty to sexual misconduct and patronizing a prostitute after paying for sex with the trafficked 16-year-old. So,
You know, if it weren't so dangerous, this administration would be laughable.
I know, it's ridiculous. And it's like, I don't know. He's a great guy, just like Maxwell's a great gal, and Epstein was a good guy. I liked him. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Let's go to Europe now. And we haven't heard from Germany in a while, and some interesting news has emerged from there. Over 100,000 people. Oops. Sorry. Wrong story. Well, let's go to Europe. We have Germany's Pride pending, but let's start with London's Trans Pride. Over 100,000 people marched in London's Trans Pride event on Saturday, making it the biggest Trans Pride march in the world. The event's theme, Existence and Resistance, was developed in response to the recent UK Supreme Court ruling that the legal definition of a woman in non-discrimination law is based on biological sex rather than gender identity. This is a terribly transphobic law. More about this later. It was an emotional...
This is England?
This is London, yes.
Yeah.
It was an emotional and powerful day, the event's coordinator, Louis G. Burton, said, at a time when the Supreme Court is making sweeping decisions about trans people without consulting a single trans person or trans organization. When a small, well-funded lobby of anti-trans campaigners continues to dominate headlines and waste public resources, our community came together to show what real strength, solidarity, and care looks like. And now let's look at a picture of over 100,000 people, some among them. The march began at 1 o'clock local time on Saturday and proceeded for just under 2 miles. The speakers included Heartstopper actress Yasmin Finney and activist Carolyn Littman, whose trans daughter took her life in 2022 after waiting nearly 3 years for gender-affirming health care. London Trans Pride began in 2019 as an alternative to the city's more commercial Pride March. This year's event gained over 40,000 additional participants compared to last year's crowd of 60,000. The message was clear. We will not be erased, Burton said. Our existence is natural, historic, and enduring. You can try to take away our rights, but you will never remove us from society. We are part of humanity, and the public will not stand by while harm is done to our community.
Isn't a lot of this funded by J.K. Rowling, all the opposition?
Yes, and there's a story about her at as I end. The event occurred in the aftermath of the Supreme Court ruling that I just mentioned. Speaking with Attitude magazine, activist Littman expressed concern over the Online Safety Act, a newly enacted UK law that requires websites with explicit adult material to conduct user age checks. Critics of the law worry it'll be used to block age-appropriate LGBTQ plus resources for minors. It's really scary, Littman said. My late daughter Alice got a lot of help and support online, whilst feeling very isolated in her own lived experience experience world that didn't really have anything for her. Her online world really protected her, and so both these legislations are really concerning and need to be seriously looked at for reversal. When asked what she would tell her daughter now, Lippman said, "Find your community." That's what I'd say, find your community, because they'll save you, they'll look after you, they'll nurture you and support you and get you through this, to do this together. That's what I'd say to her, and I love her. Love, I love, I love, love, I love. So now let's switch gears to a film made in England in 2024 called The Visitor. And let me start by issuing sort of a trigger warning for this clip. If you have epilepsy or are triggered physically by strobe lights, don't watch this clip. But let me tell you about it. It's The Visitor. A refugee arrives at the home of an upper-class family in London and seduces each member of the family. When he suddenly is gone, he leaves behind a void that the rest try to fill in different ways. So let's take a look now at a clip from The Visitor.
Very interesting.
Very avant-garde. I saw an interview with the filmmaker. You can watch it on Altavad, Prime Video, Roku, Roku Channel, Apple TV, Mubi, and Mubi, M-U-B-I, and Fandango at home.
Huh, okay.
I got to that early because I know Linda would start to say, "Do you have a clip, Ann? Do you have a clip?" But now let's...
What makes you say that?
We have a pattern. Okay, now let's look at a picture of Matthew Draper, if we can. He holds the dubious distinction of being the first person paid damages by a church for exorcism of gay demons. The exorcism attempted to rid him of gay demons, and what is to believe, this settlement is believed to be the first legal settlement of its kind in the UK. Speaking on camera for the first time, Matthew Draper, whom you just saw pictured, told ITV News that he was led to believe demons had left his mouth during the intense prayer session at St. Thomas Philadelphia Church in Sheffield in 2014. They said that one of the reactions you'll have is that when people are praying for you to get rid of the demonic influence, you'll want to stop. And that's a sign that you should carry on and that you should push through. And they said you might have a physical reaction, he said, describing the prayer session. Draper was told to push out his homosexuality from his body. So, following an independent report in 2023, which upheld his complaints against St. Thomas, Philadelphia, which is a joint church of England Baptist Church, they have now paid him a 5-figure sum in compensation for the exorcism.
Good.
Since ITV News first investigated conversion practices in 2018, successive governments have promised to ban them, but despite repeated pledges, no law has yet been brought forward. And then I have a page and a half of the government sort of waffling about it. This is conversion therapy. The government is carefully considering the recent Supreme Court judgment, which is that awful transphobic law, on the definition of a woman before proceeding with the ban, as well as requesting more evidence of current conversion practices. What more evidence do you need? And now, here's a view from the other side. Those who oppose a full-scale ban on the variety of grounds believe a ban could have unintended consequences, such as stifling freedom of religion or preventing constructive conversations about gender identity with parents and teachers. Can you believe this?
No.
Like from the Middle Ages. Now, the Church of St. Thomas, Philadelphia, responded to ITV News several days after the publication of the report to claim that compensation was only paid in response to the way Matthew Draper's case was handled, not in response to any reported harm from the prayer session. Mr. Draper's lawyer disputes this. The church says that it does not practice or support conversion therapy, but the evidence points otherwise, and the government is dragging its feet.
Unbelievable. We should move on now for a minute.
Okay.
And
Unbelievable, this stuff.
I remember seeing The Exorcist.
Remember?
Yeah,
That
it
was
scared
an
the
intense
crap out of
film.
me. I know. Now, a lot of people have been going back and forth about Sarah McBride, as we know. And
Well,
here,
the transphobes are at work.
yeah. Well, also, you know, a lot of people in our team think that she's much too passive in her role as the only transgender person in Congress.
Right.
So this is a little thing about, she called out what she sees as a corrosive dynamic within the Democratic Party. One that alienates the very voters it needs. I think voters feel like Democrats have sort of been assholes to them. The Delaware Congresswoman told Politico Dasher Burns in a new interview airing Sunday on the Conversation podcast. So you might want to take a look at that and see
Very interesting.
more of what she says about that. Yeah. You know, so I imagine she's going to talk about, you know, being cruel to working class people and, you know, I don't know. But anyway, it's on airing this Sunday on the Conversation podcast. So take a look at that if you have interest. Mario Paglino and Gianna Grossi, a couple who were famous for collaborating with Mattel on custom Barbie dolls.
Oh, I've got that.
Oh, you do? Is that an overseas?
It's Italian, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go
I saw
with it.
Barbie dolls and I thought,
Fine,
okay,
and
I
good.
have a picture.
Oh, you have a picture too?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, good.
Died early this week. The couple was involved in a head-on collision with an 82-year-old man going the wrong way on an Italian highway. So here's a picture of them. Sorry, Ann.
That's okay.
Wallace Annensberg, the Los Angeles-based philanthropist who died Monday at 86, is being remembered for her generosity to the arts, culture, and wildlife. But most obituaries are not mentioning that she was a lesbian. She was closeted, pretty much. But she did much for the LGBT community and HIV and AIDS charities. Others, however, specifically in the 12-step recovery community, knew how much she contributed quietly and publicly for struggling AIDS and LGBTQ organizations such as Project Angel Food and Gay and Lesbian Elder Housing. Perhaps her most courageous contribution was agreeing to her friend Mary Louise Oates' request that the AIDS Project Los Angeles Commitment to Life dinner in 1985, right after Hollywood star Rock Hudson died of AIDS. Wallace called her friend Betty Ford, asking if the former First Lady would be the gala honoree. Ford said yes, and Wallace's friend Elizabeth Taylor also agreed to co-chair. The event raised $1.3 million, and the stigma of even talking about AIDS started to lessen. Annensberg's friends Joan Rivers had tried to raise awareness about the disease, but it took Annensberg work to kickstart the effort. Taylor, for her part, went on to raise millions more to fight AIDS.
That's really...
I know.
Do you have a picture of her?
Yes, I do, and there's a picture of her right there. And this is a fun story. Billie Jean King, have you heard about this?
No, I have not.
All right. She decided she was going to go back to college.
Yeah.
Since she, I think she's probably my age, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, she left college to do tennis and advocate for women and LGBTQ rights. But now, the one thing she hasn't done is graduating from college, and she's planning on crossing that off her list. So good for you, Billie Jean.
Yeah.
And here's another one. You know, you wonder where people are coming from, but anyway, I'll tell you the story.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Billie Jean King is 81.
She's going to college.
Yeah.
Now this is like, anyway, San Francisco Supervisor Matt Dorsey has proposed getting rid of a law requiring city contracts to offer benefits to employees, same-sex domestic partners. And some San Franciscos are not pleased, surprisingly enough. Dorsey, and he's gay, says the Equal Benefits Ordinance, which went into effect in '97, is no longer needed because of marriage equality. The ordinance was adopted when same-sex couples didn't have access to legally recognized marriages, and it required companies doing business with the city to offer those benefits to same-sex domestic partners that they offered to married straight couples. Dorsey told the Bay Area Reporter that repealing the law or ending its enforcement would save the city money and broaden the selection of companies with which the city could have contracts with. So,
But
it's like such a contradiction. It's like, oh, well, it's not needed anymore because, people are covered by,
it enforces...
and then saying it's going to save millions.
Uh-huh.
I mean, really?
That's the ulterior motive. And the other thing is it, cuts out people who choose not to get married.
Right.
And it assumes marriage equality is going to continue. I mean, there are so many
I know. There's so many problems with this.
Yeah.
So I hope they put a stop to that in San Francisco. Lincoln, the popular professional networking platform, has quietly stripped explicit protections for transgender and non-white users from its English language hate speech rules.
Oh my gosh.
Repeating a playbook now familiar to LGBTQ advocates, tracking the rollback of content safeguards across major social media platforms. So if you use Lincoln, beware.
Don't use Lincoln.
And a lot of people do. I mean, it's like the go place for people looking for jobs and stuff like that. So, and a senior Heritage Foundation official and co-author of the First Right Project 2005 agenda, has filed comprehensive public records requesting targeting more than 70 courses at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, demanding access to teaching materials that reference diversity, race, gender, and LGBTQ plus identities. According to UNC's Public Records Portal, Mike Howell, Executive Director of the Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project, submitted the request on July 2nd, asking UNC to turn over syllabi, lecture slides, assignments, and internal communication that include any of 30 flagged items, among them transgender, LGBTQ, cisgender, queer, intersectionality, non-binary, white privilege, and restorative justice. The request spans content shared since January 2005 and directs the university to search platforms such as Canvas, Microsoft Teams, Signal, and Slack. So, that's a huge request, and also it's nuts. And do you want to talk about, speaking of nuts and giving up information, is our governor?
Absolutely. This is outrageous. Attorneys general were arguing that that their states are not required to give Trump information that he asked for. And they established that there's no requirement. He asked for personal information about all the 64,000 SNAP recipients in Vermont. And even though it wasn't required, he just turned it over. The most accommodationist, antithetical action. I am enraged by this, and I think he deserves to be voted out for that, betraying Vermont's poor and,
struggling
population.
And I think if you're from Vermont, get out those letters, start writing, start emailing. This is outrageous.
I mean, he's backed down on a lot of things, unnecessarily accommodated Trump, and this is just one more example, and it's despicable. Since
Thank
you
you.
turned the...
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, Vermonters, get out there and...
Be aware, for one thing.
Get rid of him. Michael Tate is one of the biggest names in the history of Christian rock. Now he's being accused of sexual assault by 8 men. Tate, formerly a lead singer for the popular Christian band DC Talk and Newsboys, was previously accused by 6 men of sexual assault. Now 2 more have added their accusations, according to a report in The Guardian. So, there you go. And I have a couple more stories, and then I'm done, Ann. So,
Do you have the Winooski story?
which one is that?
The superintendent being detained?
No, I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
I
I'll have to do
reminded
it
you
next
several
time.
times.
I know. I'm sorry. Announced back in 2019 by David Brully, then mayor of Parton's beloved Nashville, Dolly Parton Day is a 24-hour period to sit and think about all the wonderful ways the country music legend has made the world a better place to be. So I'm going to end on this good story here. From releasing 49 studio albums to writing 2 of her most adored tunes on the same day, I Will Always Love You and Jolene, to partly funding a coronavirus vaccine and distributing endless amounts of free books to children, Dolly Parton is a full-time angel on this earth. Yet the LGBTQ community holds a particularly special place in its heart for the singer, living legend. To mark Dolly Parton Day the right way, here are 9 times she proved a patron saint of queer allyship. And she, she funds AIDS. She had a song early on about being gay and being supportive, and it was a funny one. So it was like, you know.
Being
about-
supportive of gay people, because
Yes.
she isn't, because she's an ally.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. And so happy Dolly Parton Day.
All right, well, let me try to cover this important story.
I know, I don't know how that slipped by my radar again.
I know. Okay, I'd like to show you a picture now of Winooski School Superintendent Wilmer Chavarria, who was detained by immigration agents and questioned over the course of 5 hours on his way home Monday from a routine visit to Nicaragua with his husband. And maybe you saw this extensive article in
They kept
7
him
days.
for 5 hours in lockup.
He grew up in Nicaragua and has been a U.S. citizen since 2018. And 7 days, he told 7 days that immigration officials seized his phone and computer, separated him from his husband, and prevented him from speaking to anyone he requested to contact.
And when he said he was a superintendent, they laughed and they said, "You're a superintendent."
They falsely stated that this is he speaking, I, a U.S. citizen, have no constitutional rights at a point of entry, and officers became increasingly agitated as I continued to assert my rights regardless, he wrote in an email informing school district leaders about the incident. It happened at George Bush International Airport in Houston, as he tried to get through security using Global Entry, a program that allows pre-approved, low-risk travelers to get expedited clearance when entering the U.S. He said he had used the program many times without issue. This time he was pulled aside and taken by U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents to an interrogation room. During their questioning, they said immigration agents cast doubt on his relationship to Cyrus Dudgeon, his partner of 15 years, and I'll show you a picture of them both, and a teacher at Essex High School, and suggested that he was making up his role, as Linda was just saying, as superintendent. They never gave him a reason why he was being detained. Dudgeon, his partner, was not. Authorities told Chavarria that he had no right to legal counsel and interrogated him in 4 different rooms. At one point, 4 officers were questioning him at once. He was born in a Honduran refugee camp and grew up in Nicaragua and began learning English in high school. Eventually, he attended college in Indiana and went on to earn 2 master's degrees, including one from Harvard. He's led Vermont's most diverse school district since July 2023. The Winooski School Board condemned the incident, and nothing like this ever happened to me. He says, when I was a student visa and all sorts of different statuses, you think it's less likely to happen when you're a full U.S. citizen, and I was so shaken by the whole thing, he rightly said. While boarding his flight to Vermont, Chavarria said he received an email from U.S. Customs and Border Protections. His global entry permission card had been revoked.
Because he had one.
No reason was given.
I know.
So that's an appalling local
So what does
incident.
that mean? He's probably scared to death to go visit his family or anybody.
Well, I don't know.
I wouldn't get back on a plane overseas after that.
At least it's being publicized.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely outrageous. Now, I have a really gruesome story I might give you a trigger warning about. I'd like to show you a picture of 71-year-old Paul Longworth and 62-year-old Alberto Alfonso, a Colombian man accused of the gruesome murder, in London, has been found guilty. On Monday, 35-year-old Yastin Anares Mascara was convicted of the July 2024 murders of 71-year-old Paul Longworth and 62-year-old Albert Alfonso. He was arrested last year, shortly after the victims' remains were found stuffed in 2 suitcases on a suspension bridge in Bristol, where Mascara had reportedly left them. They were civil partners. They'd struck up a friendship with Mascara, who shared paid sexual content on the internet. He killed one of them, and while he was having sex with the other one, and hid the body in the couch. And then when he was having sex with the second one, he stabbed him to death and hid their bodies all over London, including on the bridge. And so he's just been found guilty. The judge ordered psychiatric evaluation, but said there's no way he's going to give him less than, the only sentence he could pass was life imprisonment. Really sick story, and the motivation was financial. Now Germany, let's get to Germany, because the German parliament banned the pride flag, but it backfired spectacularly. And this is what I jumped the gun earlier. I'm so excited by this story. Germans turned out in record numbers for Berlin's Christopher Street Day Pride Parade on Saturday, a rebuke to the far-right anti-LGBTQ activists who cast a pall over this year's commemoration of the Stonewall riots and the fight for LGBTQ plus equality. The turnout was also a warning to German lawmakers hoping to assuage far-right voters by dialing back their support for the LGBTQ community. In May, Bundestag President Julia Kuchner of the Christian Democratic Party announced that she would ban the rainbow flag from flying atop Germany's parliament building for Pride, calling it a political demonstration. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and this is irritating, added to the controversy in a July interview. He declared that the Bundestag was not a circus tent on which any flag could fly. Very insulting. Now, Thomas Hoffmann, a member of Berlin's Christopher Street Day Executive Board, estimated that the 2025 crowd at Saturday's Pride March was bigger than in past years. We want to stand up for our rights together here, he said. A right-wing counter-demonstration drew 30 to 50 protesters to Saturday's march. 6 people, including the counter-demonstration's organizer, were arrested for alleged weapons and explosives violations, as well as for displaying anti-constitutional symbols, including the Nazi swastika. Police have been vigilant in the face of a concerted anti-LGBTQ campaign this year under the banner of co-opting the German translation for Pride Month to celebrate straight pride. So it's very tense in Germany, but people are showing up in great numbers. More than 200 Pride events are scheduled in Germany this year. So the right wing is rising, but gay people are standing up, LGBTQ people. Now, let me continue quickly, because I'm just going through my Italian story that Linda covered. And I'd like to tell you next about trans darts player. Let's look at a picture of her. Her name, she's a Dutch player, Noah Lynn van Leuven. And she's pictured before you. The World Darts Federation announced this week that the new rules banning transgender women from women's tournaments would go into effect immediately. This decision sidelines the sport's most prominent trans star, Dutch player Noah Lynn van Leuven. However, I mean, it's an execrable vote. It says that she can also compete in the open category against adults of all genders, but she can't compete in the women's category. And there was a little kerfuffle. An ugly thing happened when English player Data Hedman forfeited a match in May rather than compete against a trans woman. So they've passed this law banning trans women except in these 2 special categories. But on the other side of the coin, the PDC, the Professional Darts Corporation, so far is open is trans inclusive. So she's been playing mostly in those events. But the announcement likely came as no shock to this 28-year-old Van de Hoeven, who has repeatedly faced anti-trans protests at tournaments, and she has said death threats at on social media as recently as Sunday, July 27th. 3 anti-trans protesters were removed by security for trying to throw things at her while she competed. 2 more quick stories. I'd like to show you a picture of Italian diver Matteo Santoro, a teen diver who won the gold medal at the World Championships after confirming his relationship with his fellow athlete, Max Linan. He won the Singapore 2025 World Aquatics Championships in the mixed 3M synchronized events. And finally, this is a story I'd like to talk about a little more. I'd like to show you a picture of Spain's first out transgender senator, Senator Carla Antonelli. So she flies into England, and we've just been talking about it's a horrible laws. And so the Equality and Human Rights Commission in England proposed this bathroom ban for trans people in the UK. And she's reveled in defying the UK's toilet ban. She put a post on Instagram mocking the ban. And speaking of Spanish,
Good for her.
she said she used the toilets at Gatwick Airport that adhere to her affirmed gender and proceeded to go back in to wash her hands because I am very fond of breaking the rules. With Lily Allen's 2008 hit, Fuck You, heard in the background, the actress turned politician extended her middle finger to Harry Potter author Rowling, who donated money to help gender-critical group For Women Scotland take the case to the Supreme Court. The caption to Antonelli's video reads, F3 * Rowling, alongside a magic wand emoji. Although trans women have not been banned from same-sex spaces, non-statutory guidance in April called for trans people to be barred from all gender toilets.
Good for her.
Yeah. So good for, let's end on a note of trans Senator Carla Antonelli giving the finger to J.K. Rowling.
Do you have a picture?
I'll look for it. I have a picture of her, but I'll look for that on Instagram. And we can put that up maybe.
With the finger, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, enjoy your next 2 weeks. We'll see you then. And
Dog
remember,
days have come or something.
send
All right.
emails to Scott and everybody else you can think of. And remember to always resist.